Well, um, commodity markets and coronavirus are um, they've been butting heads the past couple of weeks, and that's where we've been. So uh, that's what we're looking at. That's what we're going to focus on probably. Um, you know, when we had this quarterly meeting back in the last quarter of 2019, I would have thought prices should be trending upward in 2020. Uh, but some of that positive aspect or positive foresight has been tempered by this coronavirus. Still leaves margin operators an opportunity just because they're buying cheaper cattle. But slaughter steer prices have really taken a tumble the past few weeks. We started off the year really, really strong. I would have thought we would have moved towards the 130 price point moving into April, but we've been going just the opposite. And you know, the $5 drop last week, past couple of weeks, considering we've lost about $9 or $10 since the beginning of the year, we definitely should have been moving the other direction. But there's nothing we can do about that, and a little bit of negative news in the market sends traders going frenzied, and so I guess here we're looking at these cash prices, and cash prices have actually held up really well compared to what the futures market has done. So I guess we should be thankful for at least the fact that cash markets have not dove as low as finished cattle. 5 to 6 weight steer prices are right on par with a year ago. That's not terribly unsurprising to me. I figured the first half of the year would be very similar to last year, and then it'd be the second half of the year where we'd see year over year price increases. I think if we wouldn't have had the issues that we've had so far uh, in the finished cattle market and the feeder cattle market, we would have seen these calf prices a little higher. Um, I'm not saying a lot higher, just a slightly higher. I do think we still have an opportunity to go to 160 if in the spring, if the finished cattle market straightens back out and we get over this hyper volatility caused by the COVID-19. If it doesn't, we're going to flatline and nothing's going to continue to advance because people aren't going to continue to pay up for grass cattle when the feedlot is not paying for yearling type cattle. This just, yearling cattle are flat; they're actually terrible. Nothing really a whole lot to say that's good there. The one positive has been slaughter cow prices. We are in a need for lean grinding beef, and some of that's due to the fact that Australia is in such a drought, or they were in a drought, and so they've actually sold a lot of beef, last year, exported a lot of beef last year. We imported a lot of their beef, but they don't have as much available now. We have a strong pull on that lean grinding beef to go into hamburgers or into tacos or whatever else it is that we grind beef and put it into. Um, I think these prices can go higher. We've actually already exceeded. Well, maybe I shouldn't say we've exceeded where I expected we'd be, but we're already on the top side of where I thought we would be for the year. And now it looks like we can go even higher, and I think we will because they probably won't peak until May or June. Um, but that's the one bright spot for people that are selling cull cows. For people buying those cows, well, it's just getting more expensive, and maybe we can make up some of those lost calf values. I tell you, this is the story right here. We are killing lots of animals, slaughtering lots of animals. We're slaughtering heavier animals. Beef production is up. So heifer slaughter is up 3.4% so far year to date, and that's over what we did last year, which was a tremendous heifer slaughter. And then we got beef cows up. I mean, you look at beef cows up, the slaughter is up 13% so far year to date, and yet prices are still much stronger than they were a year ago. So that just goes to show you right there how important that lean grinding beef is to the market that we're in, the domestic market that we have. And when you think up, we're up 13%, and yet let's go back real quick, and we're up about $7 or $8 a hundred on prices right now. So we're over 10% higher on prices than where we were a year ago, and we have been for pretty much the whole first 2 months of the year. There's just really, really strong demand for that lean grinding beef coming from those slaughter cows and bulls. Slaughter bull prices are up near $1 in some cases, something to take note of. But that was supposed to. Here's what I wanted to show you. So we got heifer slaughter up 3.4%, and we've also got weights up close to 15 pounds or so compared to last year. So we got more cows being slaughtered. We're slaughtering them at heavier weights. And a lot of these heavier weights compared to a year ago have to do with the feeding conditions that we've had this year relative to last year. We had a terribly, terribly wet winter and spring feeding cattle in 2019. And we've had much better conditions. I know it's been you doing all right? Yes, sir. I know it's been wet here locally, but it's been wet locally, but feeding areas have been a lot better off than where they were a year ago. So that's why we're seeing those heavier weights. Similarly, steer dress weights are up, so we're seeing the same thing there. Which when you see increased slaughter, increased weights, it leads to this increased beef production. And so far, year to date, beef production is up 5.2%, pork production is up 6%, and broiler production is up nearly 8%. We're producing a lot of meat. I guess the fact that we're producing this much meat really is supporting those corn prices and soybean meal prices to some degree. But I really don't know how much more we can produce, because when you think about China being one of the biggest consumers of meat in general, and when they shut down cities, we're starting to see some places being shut down here in this country, and so if you shut down some of these restaurants and you don't have as many customers moving through, how will that influence consumption of these products? I don't know how it will influence grocery and retail, because people still have to eat, but it definitely will slow down people going to those fine dining restaurants and moving about. So we continue to have fairly strong prices relative to increased production, relative to coronavirus. I guess I'm kind of amazed at how strong prices have stayed given everything that we've got so far. So I don't see where we're going to start decreasing production. Meat availability is going to be high. It's going to stay there because we've still got a lot of cows in the system. We've still got a lot of hogs in the system. We've got a lot of broilers in the system, and the poultry and pork businesses keep on expanding. The cattle herd will probably shrink a little bit this year, especially when we're seeing those strong heifer slaughter and cow slaughter numbers. But I don't know that it's going to shrink enough to put people into making a bunch of money by any stretch of the imagination. But domestic demand has held its own, and we should probably be tickled to death with that. It's hard to know what's going on with China, even if we get rid of coronavirus and everything's good. And it's good news that we got us a deal done, but that's phase one. What's phase two? Is there a phase three? Do we have a phase 15 somewhere down the road? I don't know. That's a crapshoot, really. And probably the biggest thing that's going to benefit the beef market the most is the Japan trade deal, putting us on level playing ground from a tariff standpoint with Australia and Canada and the other nations that were part of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The new NAFTA, the USMCA, signing off on that. I guess we were left with Canada needing to make some type of action. I don't know if they finished. I don't know if they've made, signed off on it or not. But as far as Mexico and the United States are concerned, everybody's good to go, ready to go. I think we're just kind of waiting on Canada to finalize that to put that all into action. But it'll keep meat moving, and that's very important, especially in the beef industry, as much trade as we do with those two countries. Imports last year, fairly strong, but nothing out of the ordinary. Exports were still really strong last year. We've had 2 great consecutive years of beef and veal exports. We're waiting on January data. It'll come out pretty soon. But I mean, we've had 2 great years of exports. How will that be influenced by some of the situations we have right now? I don't know. But Korea and Japan are going to be the highlights for us. That's where a lot of our beef is going to be moving is through South Korea and through Japan. And we're going to continue to import that inexpensive lean manufacturing beef. The whole Brazil issue, I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about foot and mouth disease from Brazil, and maybe that is a concern. Maybe it's not. I don't know enough about that to say, oh, it's terrible. I know NCBA has a lot of concerns, but I don't know if those concerns are strictly scientifically based or if it's more of a market-based concern. And we know China's going to demand meat if they can get past this coronavirus scare. Yeah, it's hard to. Anytime China tells you something, it's hard to know what a communist country, the information they're sharing with you, if it's fact, fiction, or made up. And so the only way we know is when we actually ship something there, and the cash comes across the ocean. That's the way we can guarantee something. Boxed beef prices kind of in their winter lull right now. We would expect those to start increasing here in the near term as we head into grilling season. But like I said, here we are. We've had colleges stop playing ball games because of diseases and viruses, and there's a lot of things that can scare us, and we can be thousands and hundreds of thousands of miles from them, and we get scared about something that I don't know if it's something for us to worry as much about right now or not. Maybe I'm just cynical and I don't see it as a big issue, but it doesn't matter if I think it's an issue or not. It's what the market thinks it is, and right now it's an issue, and that's what's keeping boxed beef prices depressed as they are right now. This shouldn't be a drought monitor. This should be a flooding monitor or way too wet monitor or something, because we're going into the spring with really good moisture conditions. Thankful for the sunshine we have today, but we're going into the spring with really, really strong moisture conditions, which should lead to fairly good hay production and may lead into good crop production. Corn prices, this has been a very, very narrow trading range, and fairly inexpensive to feed cattle is what it amounts to. Hay prices, I know there's some people running low on hay. There's other people that have plenty of hay. It's going to be very regional how those prices are in. fill up the barn and hope you don't have to use it. It's kind of the thought process on that. This is for Kansas feedlot closeouts. Still, like I said, cheap to feed cattle, not expensive at all based off of what we've been seeing. Putting weight on it very cheaply in the feedlot. This does not have yesterday's $2 decline in it, so this is through Monday instead of through Tuesday on the May board right here, and things just aren't looking good. You go from 151 down to 132 in a matter of a couple of months, maybe 6 or 7 weeks, and you say, well, man, I wish I'd have hedged some cattle. And I'm sure a lot of people wish they would have, but there's no good explanation for this other than people running scared, and that is simply what it is. August, same thing. Take $2 off that 143.78 that it traded at Monday, because we're down at 141 and change. Given yesterday's decline, I mean we've seen 2 or 3 days here up down, and again that there's no rhyme or reason to it. If you read my weekly comments, you can't make sense out of nonsense, and you can't make logic out of illogic, and that's essentially what's going on. You see that, I don't know if you notice this gap here in the day-to-day trading. We'll probably go back and fill that gap at some point. So this market will move back up to 148, 149, and we'll fill that gap. It's almost guaranteed. It almost always happens. If you notice, we filled this gap that happened right here back in late January. So it's likely to happen for this gap that occurred about the second week of February. Is that good or bad? Well, it means that might be an opportunity to do something from a hedging standpoint. I'm not going to say, Aaron gave you some specific hedging strategies for corn and soybeans. Right now, if you're just doing a straight hedge, there's nothing to do. It's more of a speculative position in the cattle markets to do anything right now, but maybe speculating is what gets you out of the bad situation that you're in. I don't know. Problem with speculating is it can put you in a worse situation. Here's Fed cattle price forecast for anybody that cares what they are. I've tempered these. I've lowered them a little bit from what I was expecting because of what we've had here as of late. Just not too tickled to death with it at all. And then here's kind of what we've got on feeder cattle, calf and feeder cattle prices, load lots, and then of steers and heifers as yearlings, and then weanling calf prices. Again, they've been tempered some compared to what I was thinking they would be, but I do think there should still be some opportunity to move stronger in that summer time period and into the fall. I guess I'm just holding out hope that those prices move to a stronger position. Will they or won't they? I don't know, but this is kind of what we're looking at, and we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. So with that,